Hello and welcome here to the GT3 American Tour back on Mid-Ohio sports car track. We are on... ah, I have with me my lovely co-commentator, Caitlin Penny. Say hello to guys out there.
Hey there, Lucas. Hello everyone. I'm Caitlin Penny, and I'm going to be talking you through this action today from the rF2-Racing League, the GT3 American Tour, Round 3 from Mid-Ohio.
So the first round you heard me alone speaking German in the stream, and for now we're two commentators. Round 2 was no one of us was there, so we couldn't stream it live, but now we're here, now we're two people. We can do a bit more of speaking, we can do it in English, and I'm thrilled to see what we can achieve as a duet. So let's start right into it. We're live on the server and it's qualifying. Oh, it's practice time. There should be qualifying, but it maybe changed. So
I believe that we went into the qualifying session and they've had to reset it for some reason. So not quite ready yet, but we're about to get underway, I believe. Just to run you through the results of the previous rounds, which you may or may not have seen. So far, it's a 100% streak for Balázs Kiss, who is currently at the top of the championship with 3 sets of maximum points. So 3 wins from 3 races for Balázs Kiss. He's followed in second place at the minute by Christian Michael for MC Racing, and then Linus Lundvall, Juan-Fran Ruano, and Bjorn Valmeyer, who are the top 5 in the championship at this point in time. Of course, we would have had 4 races, but race 2 last time out was cancelled due to some server issues. Hopefully we don't get anything else like that again today, meaning we've only had 3 races so far in the series. This is round 3, but race 4, and we have the full 2 races for you today as usual.
yeah, right, that I got the information that qualifying will start shortly, and yeah, it was set for 7 o'clock p.m. So it will be at 7 o'clock p.m. and that happened about right now, and so there should be qualifying in just a bit.
So as we wait for the start of the qualifying session, one thing I have noticed is that it started to rain, and that can always spice races up. The Mid-Ohio circuit is a very hilly track, meaning you can often get rivers of water running down the road, and you may think that rF2 doesn't simulate that, but the way that the cars bounce over the bumps and suddenly have to come back down onto a wet track makes pretty much exactly the same effect. So it's going to be tricky, and you need to keep yourself off the white lines, off the curbs and off the grass, because if the car gets unsettled, you're not going to be able to hold it anywhere near as well as you would be able to on a dry track. It's going to be tricky, and as it currently stands, it's not actually that much of a heavy rainstorm, meaning it's going to be in that awkward zone between wet and dry, where you have to have an educated decision as to what tyre to go out on, and possibly in the race we may see a difference in strategy as well.
So now, like, the qualifying off right now, and now we have 50 minutes of qualifying, setting off the grid for both races, which is unlikely for most of the series that I have learned of, that I have viewed. So we will have the grid for both races after this qualifying, and I'm thrilled of the 2 races. We have proven in this series that rain can upset a few drivers, especially if the rain gets harder and everything is much slippier. And we had it on race 1 that it started in the middle of the race it rained pretty hard, and so we had like half the grid flying off the track. And now I hope that the drivers can go along better with this track or this rain on the track. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about the races.
Yeah, we're just watching the drivers getting ready for their qualifying laps, and you notice quite a few of them came out as soon as the session started, and that is a very good thing to do tactically, because if the rain keeps getting worse, that means the track conditions are going to get worse, and the times will gradually slow. That means that it could well be essential to get your first lap in, and to get your first lap in quickly. This could well decide the session. Of course, if it dries out later on, then it won't, and in that case it will be the last lap that has the advantage. But in this case, if it continues to rain at this rate, the first person to set a flying lap will actually have an advantage. And I've just had a look at the Corvette's tyres as it's gone past it. I think that we're still on slick tyres, so I don't think that we're going to get another opportunity to set a lap like this one. However, it is pretty difficult to tell. But whatever the case, we're currently watching Christian Michael going fastest in the first sector in the Corvette. This is the driver, of course, second in the championship in the MC Racing Corvette, number 21. He's following his teammate over the hill, and that will be Simon Christman in the other Corvette. Christman will be the first driver to set a flying lap, I believe, but Christian Michael is only just behind him. So here they come towards the end of the lap. They've only got that long swinging right-hander plus the sharp 90-degree left-hander to go. Over the curb, accelerating across the straight. Here comes the benchmark time, and it's a 121.655 that puts Michael to the top, but he's immediately been demoted there by Balach Kiss. So Kiss goes to the top with a 21.387. Our championship leader demoting second place in the championship. Bjorn Valheimer is third for now, and if the conditions rapidly deteriorate, that could be the order. So those could have been some very essential qualifying laps. And sorry, Lucas, I kind of interrupted.
I looked at the weather forecast, and it looks like it will be raining the whole two races. There is light rain forecasted until like 11 p.m. So I don't think that the rain will stop until the racing are finished, but it is light rain, so not that much of rain, so I think the drivers will get along pretty good. And yeah,
I tell you what though, the spray is really starting to kick out from behind the cars and get flicked up into the sky, which is a surefire sign that the track is getting slower. Let's see what Christman does at the end of this lap, and there is no improvement there from Christman. However, he was only 3/10 down, so I think there is a slight chance that drivers could improve on this qualifying lap. But to be honest, by the looks of it, I reckon Balach Kiss may well have got pole position already by virtue of that first flying lap.
Here we have Balach Kiss, and you said Björn Valheimer. It's Björn Wallmeyer. So I we had it with we had in the last series we had a name called Thomas Andrea Mihari Soa, and it took me like 3 or 4 races to get this name spelled correctly. But now I can say it in my dreams. You can wake me at night and I say Thomas Andrihan Mihari Soa.
That's fantastic. Yeah, apologies about that, Bjorn Valmeyer. Yeah. Sorry, Valheimer just rolls off the tongue. But anyway, Valmeyer. Whatever the case. Balach Kiss has a little bit of traffic ahead of him on this lap, but that won't really affect him that much, as he wasn't going up on his time anyway. In fact, he's quite a long way down on it. So I expect what the drivers may try to do for the rest of this qualifying session is put on wet tyres and possibly adjust their setup for damper conditions, and use it as a practice session to set their cars up for the start of the race. I think qualifying in terms of the order may well be over already, as it was very much only what they could do on their first flying lap that actually made a difference. Now I think it's all going to be about just putting on the wetter compound of tires and seeing how the car's going to handle at the start of the race.
Yeah, and I think it's true because a lot of drivers are now getting into the pit and pulling off their tires, getting new ones, and trying to get better conditions for the car and improving on their time. Because I think for now the information that it will not stop to rain until about 11 p.m. gets through to the drivers, and they are going for the weather compound. And I think we will see an interesting race here.
Yeah, certainly. When it rains, of course, you want to have your tire pressures as low as possible, because getting heat into the tires can be a real issue, and as a result, you want to be able to get the heat into the tires quickly, and thus increase your grip. Oh, Jack Brown there having a massive slide up the hill and actually spinning it into the barrier there, so a big mistake for Jack Brown. But he wasn't improving on his time anyway, so that won't affect him too much. Other things you want to do in the wet, you want your suspension to be softer than usual. This is because you don't want to be rubbing your tires into the ground, and you don't want the car to be twitchy, because if it's twitchy, it's much harder to save than it is in the dry conditions. And as well as that, it's often beneficial to increase the downforce on your car, just to improve the grip in the slippy conditions. But anyway, I'm sure there are drivers in this field who know a lot more about setups and a lot more about wet conditions than I do. Really, one of the main things that makes a difference is the driving style. You have to stick to the dry line, or the drier line, the karting line, effectively. And if you don't, you can very much just be dragged off the line by the wet conditions, and you stand no chance of getting it back on in time to salvage your lap. And by that point, you can lose tenths of a second, possibly even seconds, if it goes really badly wrong. It's tricky, and it brings out the cream of the crop, but that's why we love wet weather racing.
So, funny thing, because last week I heard a podcast. It was called like who does such things as, and this time it was sim racing, and then someone from an official team of some official brand said they have engineers just for that sim racing leagues that are doing the same thing as for the real racing drivers, getting the setups ready before a race. And I don't think that the teams here have special engineers just for this, but I found it interesting that there is so much effort put into such things, and that there is as much money to get from the esports of such sim racing leagues, where car manufacturers are doing events and doing their getting their workers for doing these setups for a simulation, and I was pretty astonished by that.
So we have now just 5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session, and currently it's Balach Kiss at the top, followed by Christian Michael, Bjorn Valmeyer, there you go,
Yeah.
Simon Chrisman, sorry, Juan Fran Ruano,
Yeah.
and then of course we have, someone crashes heavily in the background there, we have Linus Lundvall, we have David Haas in 7th position, followed by Tamas Shea, I think.
Tamas
It's Shea,
Shea,
okay.
I think.
Just practicing. We have Dirk Elsner in 9th position, followed by Christian Matter, and those are the top 10 as it stands. And to be honest, unfortunately, I don't see the order changing anytime soon, especially if the weather keeps up like this, which it's looking undoubtedly likely to do. and as a result, I think the actual competitive part of the session's over. But anyway, let's just enjoy the spectacle of these GT3 cars heading around the Mid-Ohio sports car course. Hello to everyone joining us today in the YouTube chat. We have the Hungarian Racing Guy Archive saying Tamás Se and Balázs Kiss are the best, go Simco. So obviously we have a Hungarian driver fan and a Simco fan there. We have Paul Dominiak saying you might want to look at the audio settings. Okay, well, we'll have a quick look into that, but thank you for joining us anyway. And Matt Ozer saying hello, everyone. Hello as well to you, Matt Ozer. And we hope that you're going to enjoy the stream, as I'm sure you will.
So I will look into that with the audio settings. Which one of us is louder, Paul? Can you do us a favor and say which one is louder so I can adjust it?
That would be very helpful indeed. Anyway, the session timer ticking very close to zero, just 3 minutes remaining, and still the drivers are heading around the course, just getting used to their wet weather running and how their car feels in these conditions. Here's Balázs Kiss, currently has a 100% streak in this championship, 3 wins from 3, and we'll be hoping to keep this up today. He is on course for it at the minute, of course, provisional pole position, and looks almost certain to actually start on the pole position here. And that's a good first step. Of course, it doesn't mean that he's absolutely guaranteed to win the race. We have a well, effectively 30-minute race ahead of us, technically 33, including the formation lap. But anyway, we have a half-an-hour race ahead of us, and Balázs Kiss will need to come out on top of that if he wants to maintain his 100% winning streak. Across the line he goes for another lap in his Simco McLaren, bright green Simco McLaren. If that car ran off into the grass, you wouldn't be able to see where it was. But anyway, continuing to lap.
I like the livery of Simco, especially the aggressive green and the subtle logo on the side. There are a few very good liveries. There are plenty good liveries in the grid, and they are pretty unique, so it's helping me a lot to differ the teams of another, because sometimes when I see series where they have like all black cars or black and gray cars and I cannot divide them, that I find that very hard to follow, and I think it's not that interesting if you cannot follow the teams or cannot say who's of which, because sometimes names are pretty hard to recognize or to order them to their teams.
I agree, and in terms of the team's championship, currently that is very much in the hands of the Simco McLarens. They're currently first in the championship with 100 points, which is 19 points ahead of the MC Racing Callaway Corvette. Third place in the championship is the Seawolf Racing Audi R8 LMS, and then we have Cold Fox Racing with an Aston Martin, and Vantage GT3 Storm Racing. No, ignore me. That's a bit of the previous name slopping over into the next name. It's actually just Storm Racing, who have a Porsche 911 GT3, meaning we have 5 different manufacturers from the top 5 teams, which shows you just how close all of these cars are and just how fantastic this GT3 pack is. In fact, I think those are all 5 of our manufacturers. They are indeed. So we have all 5 manufacturers in the top 5 in the team's championship. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that these cars are so close together, part by the regulation, I think, but also that the drivers are picking out which suits best for their needs and driving it to the top 5, and then we have such a differentiated or different field or different grid, because there is no domination by one car type, and we have it pretty shattered types, and I find that very interesting, and I think that is a pretty good sign that these cars are pretty balanced.
So checkered flag in qualifying now, and it's Balach Kiss who takes pole position. Yet again, he will be followed on the grid by Christian Michael, Bjorn Valmeyer, Simon Chrisman, Juan Fran Ruano, Linus Lundvall, David Haas, and then Tamas Che, Dirk Elsner, Christian Matten, sorry, and then it's Brown, Tocho, Vasconcelos, I
Yeah,
think,
it's
or Vasconcelos.
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 Yeah.
Okay, good. First try. Got it. Then we have Kostas Kantzoris, Marcus van Week,
It's Marius van Wyk.
Marius. Okay, Marius van Wyk. Sorry, there we go. I will get this.
Yeah.
Then we have Jürgen Valmeyer. Any relation to Bjorn there?
It's Jürgen Wallmeyer is the father of Björn Wallmeyer, and they too found the Wallmeyer GT team.
Fantastic. Clues in the name, I suppose. Claudio Souza is in 17th position, and actually 18th, and not setting a qualifying time, was Matthias Weber. So hopefully Weber will be actually starting this race, but for whatever reason, he did not set a qualifying time. Anyway, 17 qualifying times, and that's how they line up. It's going to be our main championship protagonists, Kiss and Michael, on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, and now we're waiting for the race, and I think we will go into a bit of pause. We will be back shortly, and then for the first race. And we're back here for the first race. The warm-up has just ended. We're waiting for the drivers to come back into the pit and then switching the session onto the race, getting ready to do the first lap for the hot start.
Indeed, the warm-up session has seen the checkered flag, and we're just getting ready for the start of the race. The drivers have been around the track for the last time. It's the last time to get a feel for the conditions before they have to go at it in anger. And just to make it trickier, the rain has actually stopped and the track is drying. So, of course, we don't have a mandatory pit stop in this league. Do they risk starting on wet tyres and just hope that it starts raining again? Or do they risk starting on slick tyres and try to control it at the start and possibly have to pit if it starts raining again? The thing is, either of them will be a risk in a different way, and it really is a little bit of a gamble, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too, but we'll see that in just a minute. Warm-up has finally switched. We're waiting for you finish the warm-up and it will ace up to switch to the race. Happening right now.
This will be a real headache for the drivers, and we're about to get it underway. Sorry. Of course, we have a formation lap, so they'll be able to see the track one last time. But by that point, they've already selected their tyre compound, and it's too late. Judging by the track, that looks very much in slick tyre territory to me. But then again, I don't know how the track feels, and only the drivers do at the minute. So I'd be surprised if many people start on the wet tyre. But anyway, away we go for the start of the formation lap. It's going to be Balach Kiss leading us off the line, followed by Christian Michael and Bjorn Valmeyer. They are second and third. It's McLaren, followed by Corvette, followed by Audi. The second duplicate car is in fourth position because that is Simon Christman in the second Corvette. Next up, we have, if we look back, actually it doesn't make it much easier that the order is changing on this formation lap as drivers. Yeah. I believe it's Rueno fifth and not Lundvall. I think Lundvall is starting sixth from memory. But anyway, they appear to be in the wrong order for the time being. But whatever the case, that's a bit annoying.
Yeah, I think it's Guado on the 5th, then Linus Lundvall on the 6th.
And of course, Lundvall in the very nice looking light blue Audi. So anyway, we have this 2x2 formation, and when they get back to the start-finish line, they will launch and get underway. For now, it's the job of Balach Kiss to determine the pace. And to be honest, he will probably want to go as slow as he possibly can, because of course, the more time they spend on the formation lap, the less time the others have to chase him down.
Yeah, and Balach Kiss has to have the speed limiter on, the pit limiter, and the others have not. So just the first in the grid has the pit limiter on, and the others are following close up. And yeah, they have to stay in formation. There's no driving like snake lines or for warming up your tires, prohibited. And so yeah.
The animals went in 2x2, hurrah, hurrah. I suppose this is a case of, and as we head towards the final sector, we only have that long right-hander and then the final flick at the last turn to go, and then it's going to be up to Balach Kiss to launch when he feels ready. And everyone else needs to make sure that they're behind him until that happens. And away they go. Kiss has dropped the anchor, and he's going to lead into turn 1. He's got a decent jump there. Michael is going to slot in behind him. Valmeyer is 3rd and Chrisman is 4th, and actually running wide there. I think that was Valmeyer, so Valmeyer has lost 3rd position in all of that, and it's Corvettes 2-3 with Simon Chrisman up into 2nd place in the 2nd MC Racing Corvette.
And here we have someone going off. It is Juan Franjuano who took a bit off there.
Yeah, just a slight misjudgment, and that's a shame for the driver who started 5th in the order. He's going to be dropping all the way to the back with that, to the back of our 18-strong chain. Behind Valmeyer, Tamas Se has just passed Linus Lundvall, so Se is up into 5th place in the other Simco McLaren, and defends that position nicely and starts to accelerate away from Se. What can he do about catching up to the back of Bjorn Valmeyer? We have 29 minutes to go in this race, and that's very sideways, and off the road goes Linus Lundvall. Just looped it around, possibly touched the curb slightly. I didn't quite see what caused that. But whatever the case, around went Lundvall off into the grass, and he's now dropped to 12th place in this race. So Lundvall in the Audi has a recovery drive ahead of him, and that is an unfortunate mistake. That puts David Haas up in the 6th place, followed by Elsner, Brown, Matten, and Tocho. And
I was just about saying that David Haas would have a hard time chasing Linus Lundvall, because as we saw in the last races, Linus Lundvall is hard to beat because he's a pretty good driver when it comes to letting the others stay behind you and not losing any places or losing any ranks behind him. He's a brilliant driver at closing corners and letting others not surpass him. And I would like to say that David Haas is one of the greatest liveries I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like something you'd find in an optical illusions book, but whatever the case, it's a very unique livery to that Porsche. It's kind of like Spider-Man's shot of Weber did. Anyway, currently running in 6th position and defending, kicking out the rear end a bit there, but defending from Dirk Elsner and Jack Brown, who are slotting in behind him. 2 McLarens, and he will feel very much the hunted at this point in time. Just a couple of seconds ahead of him on the road, actually Bjorn Valmeyer now. So Thomas Se has actually passed Valmeyer for 4th position, and Tamas is through there in the green McLaren. So Valmeyer losing a couple of positions at the start. He started 3rd, then got passed by Chrisman, and he's now been passed as well by Tamas Se. But anyway, continuing in. And there goes Jack Brown, who gets a much better run than David Haas out of that last corner there. Not Haas, Elsner, sorry. And has managed to go around the outside of him. So that is Brown up into 7th position.
Juan Franjuano had an off track again, and Jürgen Wallmeier also. So they are. I think they have problems with the state of the track right now, and we have Balazs Kiss on first. There was a bit of lag, I think.
Yeah, it was a little lag spike, but I think everything is fine. And Kish is currently on his way to what looks to be the fastest lap of the race so far. Unsurprisingly, he's an extremely quick driver, the quickest that we've had so far in this season, and he's going to take a lot of catching as the season progresses. First lap of the race there set by Balazs Kiss, and he continues to lead this race. Christian Michal is sticking with him relatively closely for now, although struggling a little bit to keep with the pace of the McLaren. Doing what he needs to, hanging back for now in the Corvette, and may have another attack later on in this race. The track won't be 100% dry at this point in time, but it does look much drier than we saw in qualifying, and as a result, I'm expecting it to really be getting into slick tire territory at this point.
We had another off track of Frank Vankos-Schellos, who had problems coming out going here. Seems like technical problems here. He's driving very low speed, and beside the track.
Yeah, that looks like a technical issue there, something to do with the software, I expect. But whatever the case, Vasconcelos having some issues. He's currently running in 18th position. No retirements yet, although Vasconcelos may well be our first. Fastest lap of the race actually set there by Christian Michal, so he is not letting Balázs Kiss get away from him. And that's an important lap there from Christian. It's a 120.299, and the majority of that time was gained in the third sector, which of course is the more kind of technical, constant radius kind of sector. Whoa, as Weber and Toccio there are very much side by side on the exit of turn 1 and heading up towards turn 2. Toccio got very squirrely over the curb, and Weber, sorry, was able to outbrake him and make the move stick into turn 2.
We have the DNF of Frank Vasconcelos, who had the technical difficulties and I think has not seen the point in returning into the race and had to quit here.
So 17 drivers remaining here at Mid-Ohio, and we still have 23.5 minutes to go. Here come the leaders out of the final corner and towards the timing line again, and I expect that the times are continuing to tumble. Indeed they are, and that's a new fastest lap of the race there to Balázs Kiss, mainly gaining that time in the first sector. So Kiss going very well there. Michal's last lap was not so quick. He was about 0.3 of a second off Balázs Kiss. But the two continue to trade lap times up at the head of the field there, and they're being followed by Simon Chrisman, who's struggling a bit at the minute to keep up with them, dropping back a bit, but not coming under pressure from the car behind him, and that's all that he can ask for this point in the race. And I think the closest battle is still probably Haas, followed by Brown and Elsner, as they are fighting over that 6th, 7th and 8th position. And there goes Brown to the outside, tries to hold it around the outside of Haas, and may well get mugged here by Elsner if he's not careful. Of course, it's a very switchbacky section of the circuit, and you need to make sure that you're not forced well and truly off the line, because if you are, you may end up losing a position when you're trying to gain one. But anyway, Haas continues to defend from Brown and Elsner. Brown is in his slipstream, heading towards the of an opportunity for him will probably be down into turn 2, so long as he can hold on to the back of the Porsche through this final sector and turn 1.
Yeah, and we have Juan Franguano fighting its way back into the upper grid, now on 12th position after he dropped to 18th position. And he's trying to get back into the top 10 here. Just surpassed Claudio Souza here.
Indeed he is. He goes to the inside and makes the move stick. Nicely done there for Ruano. Meanwhile, the Haas and Brown fight very nearly kicked off down into turn 2. I expected that Brown would get close, and he very nearly got through. He was to the outside of... well, he has got through now, so Brown has finally managed to make the move stick, and seems to have consolidated it. So through into 6th place goes the British driver. David Haas is down into 7th, and can he hold off Dirk Elsner, or is he now going to be ultra vulnerable now that he's had Brown clear him?
Dirk Elsner is sticking pretty close to his rear side and trying to get on here. A bit of slipping on the corners.
Meanwhile, as Claudio Souza loses another place, that is one to Linus Lundvall there for 13th position. But yeah, whatever the case, it's spin for Christian Matten there, and he was very lucky that his teammate his fellow Audi Toccio was able to avoid. I'm getting confused. That was the wrong car I was looking at, but it was a spin from Matten and Toccio and Weber. Sorry for the confusion there. Toccio and Weber did a great job at avoiding him. What I was going to say before was that Balázs Kiss has just set the first lap of the race below 1 minute 20, so the track is indeed getting drier. But yeah, a huge spin there for Christian Matten, and he has dropped out of 9th position down to 12th with that
Claudio
one.
Sousa got his place back here on Linus Lundvall having problems, I think, because he's dropped behind Kostas Kansouras as well.
Yeah, he spun. Linus Lundvall there had a big spin in exactly the same way as Matten did, and those two, in exactly the same way as Matten did, and those two, of course, are teammates. So both of those cars having very similar spins for Seawolf. Sorry?
There's a few lags on the server, I think, because I'm getting issued off-track messages where there's lags, and of course Balázs Kiss who lagged a bit here, and but I think he's come through the corner without hitting like the track post.
That's good to see. That would be a real disaster for Balázs Kiss, currently the championship leader, and that would be really, really dramatic in terms of the championship. Is it just me, or is Christian Michael getting closer? It looks to me as if he is, and
Yeah,
in fact,
I
judging
think
by his lap times, he absolutely is. So Christian Michal, who currently holds the fastest lap of the race, is now right on the back of Balázs Kiss there. He's so fast through the final sector, and if he can do that and stick with Kiss in order to slipstream him down into turn 2, there could be a real opportunity here for Christian to actually make a move on the McLaren driver potentially.
Yeah, and he's getting closer. Our overlay has a bit of problems issuing the times and the differences between drivers. Because of that, we do not see any delays between them. I'm a bit mad of that because we had that on the last stream as well, and we couldn't sort it out. And now Christian Michel hangs behind Balázs Kiss and tries to find a way to get along.
Through towards the final sector come Kish and Michal. This is where Kish does tend to be the fastest driver, and just needs to make sure he sticks with Kish and sets himself up for an opportunity. He's undoubtedly pushing at this point in time, and obviously going for his first real attack of the race. If this doesn't work, he may well hang back for a couple of laps and then try again later on, but whatever the case, for now he is well and truly on the hunt. And
we have a lot going on the track. We have another off-track of Linus Lundvall here. Going... Okay. That seemed like a lag. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that was a lag spike. Apologies about that. He's currently chasing Claudio Sousa and someone going well and truly off the road there and dropping back.
Kostas Kansouras overtook Christian Matten there. Then we had Dirk Elsner getting a position against David Haas here.
Up the inside he goes, and Elsner makes it stick on the apex. That's nicely done from him there, and he gets it turned in for the corner, which is always a bonus. But yeah, the incident we saw before was Christian Matten getting it very wrong, coming out of turn 1, going over the grass and losing 2 positions to Kansouras and Lundvall. However, Lundvall is already back behind Matten again, and I have a feeling something went wrong. So obviously Matten and Lundvall not having the setup that they would like at this point in the race. Meanwhile, Jack Brown has just demoted Bjorn Valmeyer, so up into 5th place goes Jack Brown there. Nicely done. And I know of a couple of Jack Browns from racing actually. I'm not sure if it's the same one. There's another Jack Brown that I know of who is a Caterham racer in real life, and I don't know if that is this Jack Brown or not. It may be, although Jack Brown is quite a common name over here in England, so it may not be.
It's like
Completing the
Müller
lap.
in Germany. It's like
Very much so, yeah.
yeah, we have a Müller in the racing league as well. One we spoke before the race is surname is also Müller, and yeah, we have David Haas got overtook by Matthias Weber here.
He did indeed. That was just Weber getting the superior traction out of that corner and through went the McLaren of Dirk Elsner. The McLaren really seems to be doing very, very good for traction, especially out of turn 9. I've noticed that several times in this race so far, and that was how Elsner and Weber and also Jack Brown earlier on were able to power their way past
We have
David Haas. Oh, someone
Christian
was in the wall
Martin.
there. I think we had a blue car in the wall, and it was Christian Matten. So Matten looping it around at turn 1, and that's the second time he's made that mistake in this race. And I'm afraid he has just DNF'd. So
Yeah,
I'm afraid the same mistake being made again there for Christian Matten, and he is our second retirement from this race. Unless, actually, I'm not entirely sure if Marius van Eek is Van Veek, sorry, is still in Van Wyk. There we go. Is still in this race. Third time lucky. But whatever the case, we just had a little incident, I think, between Kantzuris and Souza.
yeah,
Am I
we
right?
had. This is a lag, I think, I suppose. Then we had Costas Kansuras here.
At the
Trying
inside
and
of Souza, and yeah, Souza doesn't see him and turns in. And there's contact between the two of them. They both go spinning off into the gravel. Luckily, they both seem to have survived that, but whatever the case.
yeah, here was.
Oh, and Souza's.
Linus
Oh no,
Lundgaard
that's a
got
replay.
through there, yeah, replay. So, we have Jürgen Baumeier off the track. Ah,
Yeah, the Audi pointing backwards there, and I think he's clouted the curb and no, he's actually just run wide and then tried to compensate for it with more power, which hasn't worked, and he's just looped the car around in a circle, and he is currently running in 15th position, I believe, last of our runners, because I don't think is Marius van Veek still in the race. I don't think he is.
and he's still in the race, he's driving.
Okay. Couple of laps down, I think he may have made a pit stop or something. He's still technically behind Christian Matten, who retired, but anyway,
And you
still in
see
this
that
race.
Christian Michel is far off Balázs Kiss here, so he
Oh,
may
yeah.
really had an off track or a below here, so
think-
just in front of his teammate Summit Christman.
I think we've had a problem for Christian Michel from second in the race. He was right on the back of Balázs Kiss a couple of laps ago, and now he is a long way behind. He's dropped right off the back of Balázs, and that's really given his rival some breathing space. And now Michel has to be careful of his teammate Chrisman behind him. So the two of them are right together, and I'm not sure what the gap is for the lead, but it's pretty major. And for Balázs Kiss, oh, it's a whole straight effectively, maybe even over that. But whatever the case, for Balázs Kiss, that has put himself well and truly in contention and in position to win his 4th race from 4.
And we see the gap that has formed. It's pretty enormous, so there had to be something to Christian Michel there. And this bit has stretched out a bit, I think, and now we're having not as many one-on-ones, but I think Simon Christman will stick to Christian Michel, and maybe he's trying to get to the second position, but I think he will resign if it's too hard to get to the second position.
So David Haas currently fighting. He's actually lost a place to Marcello Toccio. Of course, he was ahead of him a couple of laps ago, and I'm afraid David Haas with the Porsche definitely appeared to have more qualifying pace than he has done in the race, and he's been gradually dropping back through the order, and that's a bit of a shame for the Porsche driver there. But anyway, as he passes by, he's under attack now from Juan Fran Ruano. And Ruano's on a recovery drive after dropping back on this opening lap of the race, going off into turn 2. Attacking David Haas in the fellow Porsche, and around goes Ruano again. It looks as if he just locked up the brakes, trying to get up the inside of David Haas. Possibly didn't expect him to be where he was, and there was actually slight contact. Looking back at that between the two of them, but yeah, it was mainly just Ruano locking up the brakes, possibly going for a gap that closed, and I'm afraid he came from far too far back there. He's only got himself to blame for that. So Juan Ferran Ruano maintains 11th position from, actually that's not Linus Lundvall behind him, that's actually the lapped Jürgen Wahlmeier. Sorry?
The one behind him is Marius van Wijk.
Oh, is it? Sorry, yeah, of course it is.
The Wahlmeiers have these black and green cars with the video on the grey panel behind the door.
I did know that. I was just being a bit absent-minded and reading the wrong name. Apologies about that. But whatever the case, that certainly wasn't Linus Lundvall, so my point stands. And talking of Lundvall, he's just had another spin in that Audi, dropping back down into 13th position. So Lundvall, who's really appeared to be struggling with that Audi today, has been dropping down the order, and I've seen a couple of spins from both him and his teammate, who is now out of this race. And I wonder whether they maybe set their car up in a way that that wasn't ideal, and they aren't expecting it to handle like this. Meanwhile, Bjorn Wahlmeier is in the wall. Yeah, Wahlmeier just looping it around on the exit of turn 1 there. There's an awkward bump partway through turn 1 that's been catching a couple of cars out, especially the Audis. And Wahlmeier has spun it around and dropped to 9th position. That's a disappointing incident there, and hopefully he doesn't have too much damage, if any at all. Also another spin there for Marius van Wijk.
Yeah.
Oh, and another one. He's off in the gravel again. So Van Wijk really struggling there in the Porsche, booting up the engine again and getting it back onto the road.
Getting overtook by Marcello Toccio. David Haas getting a position as well.
And that's because Wahlmeier spun again at the same corner. So Wahlmeier again having problems. And it's that turn 1, it's that awkward bump partway through turn 1. And of course, once you have one spin, your rear tyres start to go off. Your rear tyres end up flat spotted, and you have less grip and less control. And as a result, you do tend to start making more mistakes, and it does tend to be even less controllable. So it's a real vicious circle at that point in time. Meanwhile, we have less than 7 minutes remaining in this race. Ooh, as Wahlmeier has a big twitch. And it's still Balázs Kiss leading from Christian Michel, Simon Chrisman, Thomas Tse, Jack Brown, Dirk Elsner, and then Matthias Weber, Marcello Toccio, David Haas, and Bjorn Wahlmeier, the top 10 at this point in the race.
And Linus Lundvall had some issues again. He may have some serious technical issues with his car, and getting overtook by Claudio Souza there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another spin, and I tell you what, his tyres are toast. That's purely poor tyre life, and him simply not wanting to pit for fear of losing even more places, but surely he's got to, because he is just spinning every single lap now. Linus Lundvall really not having a good time with it, and he's going to have to sort that out for race 2. Possibly put a bit more rear wing on the car, just make sure you don't make the same mistakes again. But yeah, for now, Linus Lundvall is really having a torrid time of it.
Here we have the third Simon Christman with Arias van Wijk between Balazs and the grid is so much stretched out right now. Arias van Wijk getting between David Haas and Simon Christman. I'm a bit dazzled
It's
about
okay.
that.
Well, whatever the case, they're still running in the same position. I think the closest fight is probably Juan Fran Moreno versus David Haas. Interestingly, we just lost Bjorn Valmeier, so Valmeier is out of the race in the Audi, and is out as well, as if to emphasize my point. So they are both out of this race, and that's a huge shame. And actually, they were running very close together on track. I'm wondering whether Valmeier and Lundvall may have made contact there, whether they may have taken each other off. But whatever the case, they're both out of this race, and that means that whoever finishes this race scores points. As the top 15 finishes score points towards the drivers' championship. But yeah, whatever the case, we've just lost 2 other drivers, and that means that out of 15 drivers who score points, we only have 14 drivers still running. Now, Lucas,
Yeah.
if Bjorn Valmeier is classified 15th, which he will be, does he get a point towards the championship, or has he not completed enough of the race? Do we ever roll like that?
I don't know. I will ask that. I will sort that out while you may commentate further.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Of course, those are 2 heavy hitters in this championship who have been taken out of contention. Linus Lundvall was running 3rd in the championship coming into this round, and unfortunately will come away with nothing. And alongside that as well, Bjorn Valmeier was 5th in the championship, and he will also come away with potentially nothing, potentially 1 point. But still, that's not going to give him much in terms of the championship. If they finish like this, Balazs will extend his championship lead. Christian Michal will extend his gap to 3rd place. He will be 2nd. And 3rd place in the championship, I believe, will no longer be Linus Lundvall, but I'm not entirely sure who it actually will be. Potentially, so I don't think it's going to be Simon Christman. No, it's not. It may well still just about be either Linus Lundvall or Juan Fran Rueno. It's going to be close, but whatever the case, we'll have to update you on that after the round.
So I've looked into the rule set, and it says that if the driver has completed more than 70% of the race, then he will score points. If he's under that, he will not score points, and getting 0 points.
I don't know how much of the race Bjorn Valmeier actually completed there. I suppose
It's
that's
30 minutes, and there were like 4 or 5 minutes to go. It could be. It will be a pretty. It is hard to say, but I think it may
roughly
count.
a 6th. That's roughly a 6th, and how that translates, I'm just going to work that out. Doesn't really matter much in terms of the championship. It's only 1 point, but whatever the case, you know, we've seen that making all the difference in the past. Still, yeah, I'm sure Bjorn will like to know.
Yeah, and had an off track of this Weber here. It was just a lag. He was cutting a bit to not get out of the corner.
Okay, well at least it was only a lag spike. I believe we have only 1 lap after this one remaining in the race. So Balazs is on his way to his 4th win from 4, maintaining his 100% streak. In fact, I think this is the final lap, as he's only just started it. So this is the final lap now for Balazs. He's found himself just behind David Haas there, so he needs to find a clean way past David. Hopefully David will be seeing the blue flags and getting out of the way pretty sharpish. But whatever the case, Balazs Kiss currently has a fastest lap of 1:19.5. That's pretty quick. Passes David Haas there, and comes through the middle sector of the course. Currently, fastest lap I think is actually held by Christian Michal in second position.
Yes.
In the 1:19, still a 1:19.5 if you round it up, but it's only just underneath that. So anyway. Towards the final sector of the course comes Balazs Kiss. He's been pretty much flawless all day. And around the final couple of corners he comes. Balazs Kiss in the Simcoe McLaren is going to exit the final corner and win his 4th race from 4 and the first of the day. Well done to Balazs Kiss, who sees the checkered flag in terrific fashion. Christian Michal is going to be second. He is going to be followed across the line by his teammate Simon Chrisman, and very much team of the race is MC Racing with second and third, although I must say well done to Simcoe with first and fourth as well. Tamashe in 4th place. Jack Brown is going to cross the line in 5th position there, doing a great job in that McLaren. Dirk Elsner is actually fighting on track now with Matthias Weber, so that's going to be a close finish, although I don't think Weber has enough to attack Elsner as they come up to the line, and indeed it's gone the way of Dirk Elsner, followed by Matthias Weber in 7th position. Marcello Toccio in the Aston Martin, the 63 Aston Martin, is going to be classified in 8th position there, and he crosses the line now. That's a pretty decent performance from him. And then we start getting back to the cars that have had various issues throughout the race. Juan Fran Rueno qualified 5th and spun off on the first lap, and also had several other incidents later on as well. He recovers to 9th. David Haas simply struggled for pace, and he finishes 10th. Kostas Kantzuras, we didn't see much of him in this race, and he is 11th. Claudio Souza is 12th. Jurgen Valmeyer is 13th. Marius van Wyk is 14th. 15th is Bjorn Valmeyer, Dennis Lundvall, Christian Matten, and Frank Vasconcelos.
So, and now we're getting ready for the second race. We will be a little bit off. We will be back shortly. Stick. And we're back into the game here in rF2 Racing League. Grid is setting up right now, and the race will start pretty soon.
Indeed, welcome back everyone. It's going to be another exciting race here from Mid-Ohio, and we're going to be starting in the same order that we finished in the last race. So Balachkis has the advantage as per usual, and alongside him on the front row of the grid is going to be Kristen Michal, and then behind him it's going to be Simon Chrisman in third place. Sorry, I should correct myself. We're not starting in the order that we finished in race 1. We're actually starting in the order we started in race 1. So we're starting in qualifying order, meaning it's going to be exactly how it was at the start of race 1. Although this time, of course, Michal and Chrisman and Valmar, of course, will want to get the jump. Valmar had a really dodgy start last time, and also behind them, Juan Fran Moreno went off on the opening lap. He will be hoping not to repeat the same feat. On the other hand, though, also actually hoping to repeat the same feat, Balachkis will want to race very much like his first one, as will, I expect, Simon Chrisman. He had a really strong performance before, and we're just coming around to start the race. In terms of the track, it's a relatively short course, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. It's actually only 2.258 miles in terms of length. We've just been around the more hilly part of the circuit, known as the S's, and this here is towards the end of the course. That's out of turn 7, I think.
7?
Yeah, sorry.
The S's? S's are turn 7, I think.
Indeed, you're right. Really sorry. Yeah, okay. And the place we've just been through there with the bridge, that's known as Thunder Valley. But the distinctive part of the Mid-Ohio course is this ending section with the carousel, followed by the final corner at turn 13. Here we go, and this is where Kish will think about dropping the anchor. He will probably go around about now. Away he goes, and Balachkis is going to lead us across the start-finish line. No, he's not, because Christian Michal actually gets past him on the exit and has to check up to avoid crossing the line before him and getting a penalty for it. And Balachkis leads through turn 1, followed by Michal, and then Chrisman and Valmar. Do they come out in that order? They do indeed. So again, Chrisman gets to jump on Valmar, much like in race 1. Can Valmar come back to him into turn 2? It doesn't look like it, and that looks to be a very similar story to the start of race 1. Have we all made it through turn 2 safely? I believe that we have done, and now we head down the back straight towards turn 4, heading through towards the S's. And we're watching Christian Michael in his pursuit of pole sitter and leader. There's turn 5 past China Beach and into the S's. And still Kish leads over the crest. Valmar really sticking with them, unlike in race 1, as is Ruano, and I believe that we have made it through the opening couple of corners safely, which is great to see.
We have a few things going on the back. We have Jürgen Valmar here having a slight touch with Audio Suda.
Indeed,
and
yeah, it appears to be that Valmar has come out on top out of the two of them for now, although Sousa definitely doesn't look done with that just yet. And after the first lap, it's Kiss from Michal, Chrisman, Valmar, Ruano, Lindvall has Se, Martin and Elsner, and that's how they stand at this point in time. But as they stream through, you can tell that none of them want the order to stay that way, except for Balazs Kiss, of course. And down the straight, this is a good chance for Juan Fran Verano to attack Bjorn Valmay. He's gone up the inside from 4th position, and he's going to find himself on the outside for the next corner as there's contact between Had and Say there. And Say was very lucky he didn't get absolutely pile driven off the road. It definitely looked close, and manages to keep it on the road. So Che running 7th with Haz in 8th. And as they go through Thunder Valley, still David Haas holding off Christian Matten behind there in the Audi. Matten hoping to have a much better race 2 than race 1. And out onto another lap with Tay right under the rear wing of Linus Lundvall.
We have Linus Lundvall. The first race was a bit of unlucky for him. He had a few problems with the conditions and maybe some technical issues, but now he's on again, and I'm hoping we're seeing a bit of the I'm saying old Linus Lundvall, but I think it was just a faux pas of him, that the last race was a bit unlucky, and I'm hoping we're seeing Linus Lundvall back at his power on saving his positions and not letting himself get bypassed. And we're seeing it here versus Tamas Se, trying to get past him, but Linus Lundvall doesn't let him past here.
Yeah, just as you were saying that was aggressive defense there from Lundvall, but well within his right. And Tamas Se very nearly looped it around, just as we saw one of the Audis doing in race 1, I think Valmar. But yeah, very, very nearly coming together. Now Lundvall's running slightly wide through the carousel, and this contact, and around goes Lundvall. He's in the grass, and that was just a slight misjudgment there, and he's being absolutely mugged by his opponents. It looked to me as if he ran wide and wasn't expecting Say to get up his inside, but Say did, and he didn't know he was going to be there. Through goes Say, Has, Martin, Elsner, and Brown, and now he's got to hold off Weber, who's attempting to come through as well. But yeah, big mistake there for Linus Lundvall, and I'm afraid he's only got himself to blame for that one. So another lap completed, and Balazs Kiss is currently still setting faster sectors, but he's still got Christian Michael right on his rear, and the two of them inseparable as they head towards the timing line. Once again, this is very much looking like it did in race 1, but Michael will be hoping that it goes slightly more his way this time around. Of course, dropped off the tail of Kiss after a mistake last time out that we didn't see. It was off camera, but we believe it was a mistake anyway. And a slightly faster lap that last time around there for Christian Michael, so he is still sticking with Kiss and is approaching the back of his car. You see how the road really dips away from you as you go around the hairpin there at turn 2. That is very much carousel as much as the carousel actually is, because it reflects the topography of the terrain, and that can often really unsettle the rear end of the car. So you need a car with soft suspension and a bit more rear downforce than at some other circuits as well. And as Christian Michael chases Balazs Kiss, they're approaching the place where he's strongest, the 3rd sector. So into the 3rd sector again, Kiss from Michael.
And I think Marius van Wyk has serious problems in the back there. He has like his 3rd off track in this race for now, and I think it's not quite getting along with his setup or technical issues. And we have Frank Vankos and Costas Kansouras fighting there. Having a bit of lag here, and I hate those lags.
Yeah, they make you panic because you think someone's going flying off the road, and yeah, they are nicely under control and everything is going okay from their point of view. Yeah, it's definitely annoying, but whatever the case, Vasconcelos still running okay in 14th position. In the YouTube chat, the Hungarian racing guy Archive reacted to Balach's race victory, saying, GG Balach, well done Simco, amazing team. Oh, Michal's lost it! Michal's in the wall! A massive spin there for Christian Michal, and that's dramatic for a second place runner in not just the race but in the championship, and he spun it as well trying to get going, and he is going to be dropping right to the back of the chain, out of the top 10, very nearly down to the back, and that's hugely unfortunate for Christian Michal there.
And he cannot...
down into 16th position and really struggling to get that car going again. My goodness.
And now he has to watch for his tires and everything to get to the pit, I think. Or do you mean he can drive with his car any further? It was a massive hit, most of all in the back.
It all depends on whether he has suspension damage or not, but he's going to be kicking himself for that one, because he had such a good opportunity at challenging for a race victory. And I'm afraid, with one simple mistake, which appears to have been caused by him possibly tapping the curb on the outside and trying to brake at the same time, and I'm afraid that's Christian Michal's chance of the win.
And I hear just now that Sousa has gotten pass-through penalty, do you call it like that?
Drive-through, yeah.
Drive-through penalty because of his early start front of Balazs kiss. Was it? Oh.
Do you mean Sousa? Well, he wouldn't have jumped kiss, but whatever the case.
He had an early start.
Yeah.
Start.
So a jump start penalty for Claudio Sousa.
And we have Christian Michal out of the pit again, and on the track now as 18th position.
Yeah, but he's going to struggle to finish in the points, let alone challenge for the top positions. And he's going to be absolutely kicking himself about that one. That elevates Simon Chrisman into second place, Bjorn Valmeyer into third place, Tamas Shea is fourth, followed by Juan Fran Rueno, and then it's Haz, Martin, Elsner, Brown, Weber, Tocho, Vasconcelos, Kansouras, Sousa, Lundvall, Valmeyer, and Van Eyck. And those were all of the people who were able to get past Christian Michal with Michal's problems there, and that is hugely disappointing for our championship protagonist.
We saw Tamas overtaking Juan Franguano. Oh, slight contact there. But indeed, little problems going past him.
Yeah, indeed, very slight contact between the two of them, but they get away with it. And still, it's Valmeyer third from Shea in fourth place. Shea getting a much better exit to turn 1 there though, and actually getting alongside Valmeyer as they head up to turn 2 and outbraking him on the inside. That looks as if it's going to work to me. Can Valmeyer get a switchback? No, because he finds a McLaren in his path, and Tamas Shea gets up into that third position there. It's Simco 1-3, and Simco are running very, very well in this race. Here comes Valmeyer though with the slipstream. However, it's not going to be enough of it to challenge again, and indeed it appears to be that the Hungarian team has come out trumped.
We have David Haas chasing the three, Juan Franguano, Björn Valmeyer and Tamas C, trying to sneak up behind of them, but Juan Franguano and Björn Valmeyer a bit farther off than the whole group, and see Juan Franuaro, who tries to sneak up to Björn Wahlmeier. And Björn Wahlmeier, he lost the place to Thomas C, which is for him. He will try to get his third place back, but I think that Thomas C or the complete Simco Racing team will try to get the dual win, the first and second position. But I think Simon Christman has a big gap on Thomas. We do not have the delays, so the gaps, and I'm a bit sorry for that, but we see him in the back, a whole straight between them, and I think if there's not many mistakes, we will see Thomas C on the third place at the end of the race.
So still Kish from Chrisman, sorry, and that's it as the race continues. We're currently watching a fight that is Bjorn Valmer, who has actually dropped down to 9th position. Now, what's happened to Valmer there? Because he was running 4th, and I had every hope that he was going to have a much better fortune than in race 1, but he's dropping back down the order. And Bjorn Valmer, who was running 4th, is now running in, I think, 10th position. Yeah, do we know what maybe happened there?
He got off track here. Then lost speed, I think. Then lost positions. Wow. And had to give in the positions for the following cars.
That's pretty gutting there for Bjorn Valmeyer. He's a driver who expected far more from this weekend. Came into it 5th in the championship, and has really been throwing away these races, unfortunately. There's no kind of way of putting it, and he's going to be pretty disappointed with that. But you know, he's going to keep his head up and come back stronger next time out. Of course, next round in a couple of weeks' time is going to be at Indianapolis, the road course, of course, not the speedway. Yeah, it's going to be at Indianapolis. I'm not sure if that's a track that he goes well at or not, but yeah, just needs to make sure that he looks forward to that. And after that, of course, we also have Watkins Glen and at Daytona. So still plenty of time to make up places in not just the races but in the championships. And back to this race, in fact, I believe that Kish may have made a slight mistake because Simon Christman is right on his tail.
Yeah, he got right behind him in the last lap. I think there was some slight mistakes of Balázs Kiss, and now for the attack of Simon Christman.
And he goes up the inside and he's through. Simon Christman takes the lead of the race, and that is a brave move there in the middle of the S's. He's made it stick, and could he be the first person to break? He actually went up the inside on the entrance to the S's there through turn 4. Could he be the first person to break Balázs Kiss? Wait!
But it may be Christian Michel here, because Balázs Kiss is still in the first place in the overlay. So I think we saw Christian Michel here coming up and oh god, it's so confusing that they just have the outer mirrors painted in different colors. And
I tell you what that was. That was Christian Michel there on fresher tyre, continuing his recovery drive and getting past Balázs Kiss. Of course, they're not in the same race at this point in time. Of course, Michel is a lap down after his incident earlier. So we thought that was Christman getting up the inside of Kiss and taking the lead. It actually wasn't. That was just Michel getting back onto the lead lap. So apologies for the confusion there. And it's still Balázs Kiss leading this race and on his way to his to potentially his 5th win from 5. Goodness, that was confusing. I think that. Yeah, I think that got both of us there, Lucas. But
Yeah.
anyway, never mind. This is David. Not David.
Jack
Haas.
Brown, and we had
And
Christian
that, I
Mutton
think,
going off there.
I think that may have been. Was it Lundvall or was it?
This
it
is
was
Christian
Mutton.
Mutton.
So, yeah, Christian Martin, that big kick of oversteer, as we've seen a couple of times from that Audi. The Audi really struggling here, very, very oversteery, and loops it into the grass. He's now running in 9th position, and has 13 minutes to try to gain those positions back. It's going to be tough. And there is David Haas on the back of Juan Fran Moreno. So it's getting close there between the two top placed Porsches over 4th and 5th positions at the time being. And way there slightly is Fran Moreno, although I think that was setting himself up for a better exit, and Haas tucks back into his slipstream there. As we're watching Marcello Toccio.
And we see Björn Wahlmeier in the same
Oh no!
corner as his father, and he again getting on the bump in the corner and has to DNF out. It's no more land in this.
Mid-Ohio obviously proving to be very much not a Wahlmeier circuit, and Bjorn has been really caught out by it over the course of the day. That's disappointing for him, and he's going to come away from this whole weekend with 1 point at maximum. So that's a big shame for him there. Linus Lundvall said in the YouTube chat the Audi was very difficult to drive in these conditions, and you see him here on the YouTube stream demonstrating exactly that, putting wheels into the grass. The Audi very, very tricky at this circuit, and also who was that, a Corvette against the wall that I just saw?
No, that it was a Lex bike.
Oh, phew. Goodness me. Well, whatever the case, yeah, the Audi really struggling in these conditions. Although cars that don't appear to be struggling are the Simco McLaren and the MC Racing Corvette. They're still going well and truly strong, and it's been a fantastic performance from them so far. And they're keeping it up here with their drivers 1, 2, and 3. And the only exception to that is Christian Michiel, who unfortunately dropped to the back very early on.
But he's trying to get back to a position where he can score points. He has overtook Marius van Beek and is now on the chase of Jürgen Wahlmeier. And I think if he's fighting like in the first race, he will get back to at least behind Linus Lundvall and maybe to Claudio Sousa.
So out onto the straight goes Christian Michiel. His next target is Jürgen Wahlmeier, and right on the tail of him here, over the last point paying position in 15th position. And that does not look like Jürgen Wahlmeier to me, unless I'm very much mistaken. It was Wahlmeier, and Wahlmeier actually getting out of the way of him there. I wonder whether he knew they weren't on the same lap. I mean, they are on the same lap, apologies. But anyway, Michiel through into 15th position, and Jürgen Wahlmeier demoted outside of the points paying positions for now. Of course, points go down to 15th as we're side by side between Haas and Brown. Brown has the advantage there in the McLaren, unless Haas can hold it in the S's, and he doesn't quite manage to make it stick. David Haas drops to 6th. Jack Brown is up into 5th place.
I think he was... yes, he has gotten to the 5th place. I mistoken it that he was on the 5th place before, but he wasn't. So behind them is Matthias Weber trying to get up to that 2 cars, trying to get past each other.
It's very much a pack of McLarens that we've seen all day, with Brown, Weber and Elsner They always seem to run very close on track, and they always seem to hunt as a pack as well. And I believe they're in two different types of McLaren as well, as Jack Brown has the newer 720, and Weber and Elsner have the older 570, if I remember correctly. I think I've got those the right way around anyway. But whatever the case, I can check that actually. I don't know why I didn't check. Indeed, the Simcoe McLaren. Oh, as Vasconcelos has crashed out. That's a pretty heavy impact into the wall there, and I'm afraid he has a second retirement of the race. Yeah, just to update you on that. For example, the McLaren that Simcoe and Superposition and teams like that race, that's a 720, but we do also have 650, not 570. 650, there we go, which is, for example, the likes of Weber and Elsner. Meanwhile, that is Krishna just lapping Jürgen Vollmer.
And he may be he may has just realized that he has led past the wrong car.
Potentially, yeah. Anyway, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. Christian Michiel is absolutely flying on these slightly fresher rubbers. Meanwhile, in the background, that's Haas coming under pressure from Weber. They are side by side, heading towards turn 4's braking zone, and Weber will be on the outside, but gets the turn in and gets the position if he can hold it on the inside. I think he's got this here. Unless Haas can hold on. In fact, Haas did a very good job of holding on there. And he's still there, and they make contact, and they both go around. And I'm afraid that's what I feared might happen. And David Haas gets the place. Weber drops back. And yeah, I think that was just a case of Haas had better traction there through turn 5 than Weber was expecting. Weber didn't know they were still alongside each other and just turned in, and I'm afraid that is primarily Weber's fault, even though I think it's a very easy mistake to make and a lot of other people would have done as well.
So is this a situation where you can get a penalty, or is this some situation where you say, yeah, he has to take it on his shoulders and there will be no punishments after that? May have some experience of that.
If I was a steward, and I'm not, I think I would probably definitely consider taking action. I'm not a steward though, and I'm going to leave it completely up to the stewards, and I respect whatever they decide. It's all going to be based, of course, on previous incidents in the league to make sure that it's as consistent and fair as possible, and that's exactly how it should be. So I'll leave it there. But whatever the case, oh, that was a big off-track moment there for who was that? Was that Fran Rueno?
Fran Rueno, yeah.
Oh, and he's off again. So Fran Rueno really struggling at this point in the race. Oh no, that was a replay. Never mind.
That was a replay, yeah.
Him going off and being passed by Jack Brown in the McLaren. Oh, and he spun it again. He's on the ground, spins it around, goes into the wall, and he's lost his rear wing. So that's a hefty impact, and he's going to have to pit or retire that car. And that's a huge shame for Rueno, who dropped down the order on the first lap of race 1 and is now dropping down the order again. We've also lost Christian Matten in the Audi. He is also out of this race. So a couple of incidents later on in the race, Brown is up to 4th, followed by Elsner and Haas. So Elsner is ahead of Haas.
Here we have the incident of Matten.
And that appears to be... well, we haven't quite seen it yet, but whatever the case, Christian Matten is our 3rd retirement of the day, and I think that Rueno has made it back to the pit lane. In fact, Rueno's just retired, so he's our 4th retirement, although I think that this is about the right point in the race where he will still be classified as scoring a point. Christian Matten's, I think, is going to be at turn 1.
Here we see
indeed,
it.
It was another incident at turn 1, very much like his previous incident, and he smashed the rear wing off against the barrier there, and I'm afraid that was how we lost our Audi. and that's a huge shame for him. His teammate Linus Lundvall is still running in 11th position, also hampered by mistakes.
Yeah, we have Juan Franruano now out of the race. I think it was not worth for him going to the pit and driving again. So he stopped his car and got out of the race.
So 14 drivers remaining in this race, with Maris van Dijk yet to pass Ruano. And I believe there were 2 drivers going side by side out of turn 1, out of turn 2 there. Couldn't quite see who they were. May have just been someone lapping another car, but whatever the case, I think there were 2 cars side by side. But with less than 3 minutes to go in this race, 2.5 minutes roughly, still Kish leads. It's been a perfect run all day for him as usual, and he is going to be extending his championship lead by quite a considerable margin. May wrap this championship early if he continues to race like this. Of course, it's early to say that. We're only at the halfway point in the season when this race is over, but still, it's looking very, very good for Balázs Kiss. He's going to get, I think, 1 more lap after this one.
And in the front, we are seeing not Simon Christman, we're seeing Christian Michel right in front of Balázs Kiss, trying to secure his 12th place, trying to maybe sneak up a little bit on Linus Lundvall, but I think he will not get past him in the last like 2 minutes. But yeah, Balázs Kiss, pretty good racing. Is such a consistent driver on all tracks we've, and chapeau to him. He's driving pretty good.
So 1 more lap to go for Balázs Kiss. Here you see the fight for 4th between that's not Jack Brown and David Haas. That's actually Haas repassing Elsner, so that's the fight for 5th place. And has made it stick. Elsner may come back to him later on this lap. Oh, who's that spinning? Someone's gone around. It's
It
one
was,
of the...
It was Jürgen Wallmeier going off track there. Maybe dropping to 14th place. Marius van Wijk is close enough, but I don't think so. So luck for the other drivers that that they not crashed into him.
So final lap, I believe, has now been started by Balázs Kiss. It's still close for that 5th position, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. But anyway, Balázs Kiss is on the final lap, and Elsner's last couple of opportunities, potentially of passing David Haas for 5th, are probably going up towards the S's. He's got a heavy braking zone coming up on the entrance of turn 4. And what can he do about the Porsche here? Probably nothing, because the Porsche has real legs in a straight line. Oh, but he does go for it. He dives to the inside, and I think that was speculative more than anything, although Haas goes wide in avoidance. And I think David Haas is just about going to hold on to that there, as they head through the exit of the S's. Meanwhile, I would like to keep an eye. There we go, Balázs Kiss coming through the final corner. It's been a perfect run, and he relapses Christensen. Sorry, ignore me. Kish crosses the line and wins his 2nd race from 2 today, and his 5th win from 5 in total. An absolutely perfect performance from Balázs Kiss, absolutely perfect. Here comes Simon Christman in 2nd place. He's put together a very decent performance today as well. 3rd place is going to be Tamas Say. 4th is Jack Brown. 5th place is going to be David Haas in the Porsche, doing a great job of holding off Elsner in the closing stages of the race. Dirk Elsner. Matthias Weber is going to be 7th place in the other 650S McLaren, crossing the line now. And here comes 8th place Marcello Toccio in the Aston Martin, crossing the line. And then it's going to be Kostas Kantziras,
yeah,
in the 34 Porsche. Oh, Linus Lundvall will be 10th. He will be followed across the line by Claudio Souza in 11th place. And of course, we saw Christian Michal there not wanting to do another lap and backing off to get lapped again to finish 12th position, followed by Jurgen Valmer and Marius van Eyck. And then the DNFs were Juan Fran Moreno, Christian Matten, Frank Vasconcello, and Bjorn Valmer. But another victory goes the way of the Simco McLaren of Balazs Kiss.
And then we will be back in a few minutes with interviews, I think, if we can fetch the drivers off, and we'll be back shortly. Hello and welcome. We couldn't get any of the top 3 players to join into our interview viewing booth, so we will end the stream here. We've seen 2 interesting races. We've seen few failures of technical accordance, and we've few failures that were just human. And but none of the less, we have 2 great races, and I'm pretty thrilled for the next race, and I'd love to see you there too. And Catherine will be there, I will be there, and I think it will be a great stream.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us today. And indeed, it's been a great performance from Balazs Kiss and the Simco McLaren team, as well as the MC Racing team as well. I think deserve an honourable mention. Tricky conditions, but those guys got the hang of it. And anyway, we head off in 2 weeks' time to the Indianapolis Road Course. See you then.
See you then.